Hello everybody, my name's Tom. I'm a meter technician with Baldwin EMC, and we're going to be looking at the GenerLink transfer switch today. First thing I would like to talk to, once it's all hooked up and the meter's plugged back in, you're on utility power. You have utility power coming in. So this screen is going to be scrolling through 3 different readings. So if you ever see that, you're on utility power. Also underneath, there's 4 lights. The first one closest to the front is utility. It lights up with green, and that means you have utility power. So that's just a confirmation. Both of those, you have utility. If you're actually using it during a storm and you don't have utility power, this will be blank, and the green light that says utility won't be on. The next light in sequence is fault. If it's ever lit up, it indicates there's an internal issue with the GenerLink itself, and it's just not going to work. You're going to have to wait until we can get with you and help you sort that out. The next one is load limits. There's 2 models of GenerLink transfer switch that we deal with. It's a MA23S and an MA24S. The 3 indicates a 30 amp model, the 4 indicates a 40 amp model. The S indicates they all have built-in surge protectors. So if you have a 30 amp model, then that means you're limited to 30 amps running through this GenerLink at one time. And there is an internal switch. It's a thermal switch. If it gets too hot from too much load running through it, you're going to have to take some stuff off of it. You were just running too much. Same thing with the 40. 40 just gives you a little bit more leeway depending on the size of the house, what you might want to run and what have you. And if you already have a generator, and I was looking at getting a GenerLink, unless you want to buy a new generator, I would buy whatever GenerLink is compatible with whatever generator you already have. If you have one that's compatible for a 30 amp, might as well just get 30 amp GenerLink. But once you get it all settled in, you see that you have no power, no lights will be on. So now your next step is to physically turn off all your breakers before you get everything hooked up. And keep in mind that the GenerLink picks the generator. Anytime it's all hooked up and running, it chooses the generator over utility. So that lets you, more or less, you can practice with it while you have utility power. You don't have to wait for the power to be out. You just hook it up and turn your breakers off. It picks the generator. Then you just decide what you want to run by turning on the breakers that coincide with it. Once it's all installed, is just experiment with it. See how much you can run, how much you want to run. Anytime that you running more than 30 amps through here, even without a generator, just in normal circumstances, that load limit light will be on. So if you ever notice that that load limit light's on, if you're not running on a generator, it don't matter. Don't pay it any attention. It's just letting you know right now you're exceeding 40 amps or 30 amps, depending on which model it is. It only matters when you hooked up to a generator. That's when it's going to shut off if it goes long enough. You want to actually hook the generator up, it's just open up, turn off all your breakers, and depends on whether or not you have a breaker out here that controls a sub panel inside. Most people do, but not everybody. If you have a breaker out here that controls a sub panel inside, you can leave that one on, but you go inside, turn all of those off. Then the cord plugs in from the bottom. It's a compression collar. If you notice, there's an internal ring. On that ring, there's a notch. The notch has to go in the front. When you get it all lined up, you don't have to manipulate the collar itself to plug it in. You just have to get it lined up and push. It clicked into place. Now it won't come out unless I pull down on the collar. But you don't have to pull the collar or anything just to get it plugged in. Once it's lined up, just a little bit of force. Hold a little on here just because there's enough leverage that you could jiggle it. You don't really want to do that. Just hold a little pressure on it, push in, get ready to unplug it, grasp the collar, pull down, it'll come right unplugged. This is the plug for a 40 amp model, which is a 50 amp dryer plug basically. The 30 amp model is a little smaller and it looks like a RV plug. Just a little twist lock plug for what you typically see on RV. This plugs into the generator. Some generators have a breaker, some don't. Some of them, as soon as they're cranked up and plugged in, it's going. This particular model here has a breaker. If it does, I leave the breaker in the off position until I'm ready to actually throw power to it. Get it cranked up, hit the power to it, boom. And you'll actually, if you're standing close to it, you'll actually hear an audible clunk, which is the transfer switch actually switching over. At that point, you can look under and see that the alternate light should be lit up. It's the far back, it says alternate source that lights up blue. When you see that, you're on generator power. At that point, you start turning your breakers on from your sub panel normally. You just pick what you want to run. If you want to run keep your refrigerator on, turn the breaker on that's going to your kitchen that your refrigerator's plugged into. You can do several small breakers. You just don't want to overload it, go over your 30 or 40 amp limit. Now that 30 and 40 amp limit is only concerned with what's running through this cord and through the GenerLink, not your other plug-ins. If your generator can handle some more stuff, you can add extension cords to it and run it out to a barn or anything like that. It can be simple if you let it be. All you're doing is going to determine what you're running inside by what breakers you turn on. And don't go overboard, and you won't have any problem with it.